All right, and we're officially in the building, stuttering out the gate, dude. Don't fucking look at me like that.
That's all, folks.
Christopher Ledoux. Oh, well, welcome back, Chris and Justin. Thanks for being here. Also, Jay. I mean, at least one of you blows me off a week. That's great. This is Somebody's Podcast, episode 15. Well, for me, it's episode 15. I don't know what episode it is for you guys.
13, I think.
Maybe episode 4 or 5 for you guys, but episode 15 in the building. First and foremost, like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate it. If you're listening to us on iTunes or Spotify, check us out on YouTube, Somebody's Podcast. Or if you're watching us on YouTube and you want to check us out on Spotify or iTunes, it's whatever the fuck this is right here. Nico will put it up.
Thanks, Nico.
Because he's ill now. Shout out to our sponsors, Rich Print Shop in the building. This is Somebody's Podcast, Recovery Podcast, Lifestyle Podcast, Motivation Podcast, whatever the fuck you want to call it, podcast. Essentially what it is a couple dudes that sometimes show up to film episodes. And we talk about a lot of shit, man. But the basis and the premise of the show is to essentially fucking get stuck on words. It's at the tip of my tongue, man. It's
to go deeper.
Yes, to
know
go deeper.
yourself deeper. You know,
I was gonna say
to
navigate.
talk about real. To navigate
and guide people.
I'll accept it,
Right,
because that's not where I was going. But yes, navigation, it's the counter argument to the negative shit that we think about or that we feel internally. It's the where the if there's the good devil and the bad devil, because we all struggle from that, the internal sickness, the internal dialogue, the limited belief systems, all that bullshit that people carry around, especially in recovery. A lot of people carry it around in life. We're here to tell you that isn't going to be that isn't your forever dialogue that you're supposed to have, right? And for a long time, I lived with that belief to these narratives that weren't real. And so the importance of this podcast is we're here to tell you that there's a way out of that type of thinking. There's a way out of that type of feeling, right? And like Justin said, it's a matter of going deeper. And it's with going deeper, you get a deeper understanding of who and what you are, the thing that you suffer from. I always say that it's only until we understand the depths of the darkness to which we suffer can we understand what is required to get us back to the light. And essentially, that's what we like to get into. The shit that I want to talk about today, actually right on time, which the premise of the show is getting lost, right? Where I was lost out the gate, distracted by Chris's haircut.
Shout out Craig.
Yeah. But being lost, right? Being lost, and there's different types of being lost, right? There's the beginning process, especially for us in recovery. There's like the losing ourselves to the point where it led us to a path of like getting clean. And then ultimately that path of getting clean led us to another path of like self-discovery if we're doing this correctly. And then there's like points in our life, even when we are clean, where we lose ourselves again, right? We lose our way. We lose ourselves mentally. We get off the beaten path. And I was telling Justin, like, before we started to record it, I was like, I kind of identify that internally for me, like looking back in hindsight, right? It's like moments in my life where my spirit was calling out for change, right? Internal change. And I would ignore the calling. And instead I would try to, because that calling usually comes with uncomfortability, right? I usually feel my spirit the strongest when it's like time for something different, right? Whether that be like, if you ever been in a relationship that your spirit let you know was over well beyond your mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's telling you like, oh, this could work, this could work, this could work. And your spirit's been telling you for like a year, like, dude, what are we doing? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you feel that, or you ever been in a room with someone where you're just like, your spirit's like, get away from this person. They're no good. Or they don't have your best interest. And your head's like, nah, they're a good person. Or you're working a job that you feel internally like, I don't want to be doing this work, but your head's telling you like, this is a good job. This isn't a personal attack, by the way, Justin. It may feel like that. This is my own experience too. But there's that internal call, right? They say the spirit will let you know way beyond the mind will begin the process of acceptance. And so for me, I look back in hindsight thinking of times that I get lost where I was internally motivated, right? That internal motivation comes from a calling of my spirit. And instead of doing things to internally change, I went on an external voyage, an external journey or navigation,
There
shall
we
we
go.
say,
Thank you.
to try to fix that feeling. Instead of trying to get in touch and go deeper and understand what that feeling was or why this was happening, I just wanted to make myself feel better. So I'd go from an internal motivation to an external. Like, it's like, for instance, when I get stressed out about money, I buy 2 English bulldogs. You know what I mean? Neither one of them have anything to do with each other. Yeah. That's like the internal feeling, something needs to change. What needs to change? I need to be better financially and more financially responsible. My autopilot response to that is like,
buy shit.
Puppies would make me feel better. Not to address that internal warfare that I'm experiencing in that point of time. If I stop to take a second and get a deeper understanding of that, how do I avoid myself from like feeling this again, right? Let me learn from this lesson that is obviously being presented to me to learn from, which many times I decide not to learn those lessons and I just try to fix that feeling. And there's so many elements of being lost, especially in recovery. Like, for instance, like self-esteem. Like for me early on in recovery, a big thing for me, like I didn't understand the premise behind like, you know, like these words that we hear, self-esteem, we hear vanity, we hear all these positive attributes, happiness, like all the positive shit that people hear, but they all come with the requirement of action, right? And so I would suffer from these things, having like low amounts of them, and there would be an internal call, like obviously, like I need to do something, right? And that call is for me to take self-esteemable actions, which require like the actions that consist of like self-love and these type of things. But instead of that, I would try to address the feelings with external circumstances or outside things, or begin the process of putting stipulations on my happiness, telling myself if I just arrive at a certain destination with certain people, certain places, certain things, that I'll finally be happy. And it's like chasing that fucking pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that's never there. That usually begins my journey of being lost, right? I get lost in that shuffle, and it's the accumulation of like time and because how cluttered it gets, right? When from the time that we feel the initial feeling to the journey that we go on trying to fix it, not address the feeling, trying to fix the feeling. And then with so much time in between, we're so far away from the root that we have all these other things that we're now classifying as problems. That we're starting to say, well, no, now it's this. No, now it's this. No, now it's this. And that for me is being lost. I've been in that place so many times. And then for me, I end up falling down the rabbit hole, which consists of like isolation, disconnection. I don't want to be around people, full of anxiety. Fear is now dictating my life again. And many times I've been on that journey, you know, and that's being clean too. That's in recovery. That's in life.
So you're combating, but you're talking about combating mankind beliefs. I mean, we've incorporated teachings that this is how we fix ourselves. We fix ourselves with external things. And if we get a certain amount of money, if we get a car, if we get a girlfriend, if we get a house, if that's what we're taught by society. And so then we come into recovery. And it's interesting because recovery talks about a spiritual awakening. And so your spirit kind of awakening to, I can't live like this anymore. And obviously at the end of your addiction, you're desolate, you know, which you referenced sometimes I believe that darkness actually is in this world to bring you to the light.
Of course.
Yep. Most people, if you study most teachers, they've experienced some darkness, which brought them to what their purpose was, what their light was. Even Jesus and other people, if you go back and study their lives, everybody wants to talk about the last 3 years of Jesus's life. But the truth is, the first 30 years of Jesus's life, he didn't know who he was. And he was finding out what his purpose was here. If you really look at his life, it's very interesting. And his life simulates our lives in trying to understand who are we and what are we doing here. And so I think that fundamentally, as human beings, we've been taught wrong, and we deny that question. And since we deny that question, then we go on this quest of creating who we are and creating the ego self of who we are. And a lot of us have developed these negative belief systems about ourselves where the life becomes overwhelming in thinking and feeling. And so we turn to drugs and alcohol. And I don't care if you came from bad circumstances, you came from good circumstances. There are a lot of people who are turning to drugs and alcohol these days. And to me, it's just a symptom. It's one symptom of many. I mean, there are housewives buying too many Amazon packages, screwing up their lives. You know, like looking to just feel better. Yeah. So
now, is Amazon the same as Amazon? Or
no, the Amazon
is the Amazon.
I was gonna point it out, but I'm like, nah, I won't.
The Amazon is cheaper.
I think it's easy. Like, speaking for myself, early in recovery, like, I didn't know which way was up, which way was down. And it's like, I felt lost because I didn't know who I was, right? So you go on that mission, right? And taking suggestions and, like, trying to find out, like, you know, what type of music. Like, I was so fogged when I first got clean. And with doing work and trying to, like, find something, like, that's my calling that gave me purpose, like, you know, I'm able to, like, have my own voice for once. But one thing I've always done in the past is, like, I'll get into a relationship, right?
Yeah.
And, like, recently I've gone through, like, ended it with an ex, and it's like it's been back and forth, and it's been really messing with me. But, like, for once I'm actually sitting through it and dealing with it. For so long it was I feel like I maybe lost a little bit of my identity trying to be someone that maybe I wasn't, or trying to, like, make that person happy. And it's not like she wasn't happy, and, like, we had a decent relationship. It just didn't work out. And but, like, I felt lost for a while, and still to this day, like, you know, feelings will always be there, but it didn't work out. And it's accepting that and moving on. And don't get, like, that external stuff, like, that's fun, like shoes, like, you know, buying nice things, like, that does cause somewhat of a temporary happiness, but that's, like, you know, barely, that's like a quick Band-Aid, a quick fix, and it's not a fix, you know?
But and I never say that stuff is wrong. I'm saying when we're looking for that stuff for a solution to whatever it's like, talk about the spirit calling out, right? And all this stuff. My thing is, and that I want to dive into with you guys, is like, we have levels of understanding of this stuff, right? Yeah. But then the average person doesn't, especially someone in early recovery, right? The part of this process is to that's like that saying that with fear, right? Fear is a lack of understanding. The more that we understand, the less that there is to fear, right? Which resonates so true to me. But we're at a place where we have a deep understanding of how we operate internally, good or bad, consciously or subconsciously, the effect, right, of what we're feeding this machine that is us, right? And how to get in tune with our spirit and in touch with our spirit. There's practices and all that, but there had to become, like, a deep understanding before we could identify what these callings were, right, coming to us internally, so we wouldn't confuse them, because this is normal. People confuse. It's like how we're wired as human beings, right? I feel pain. I don't want to feel pain. Yeah. It's as simple as that. And so we go from one extent to the other extent. It's almost black and white, but there's a lot of gray that we understand, right? Yeah. Like that comes with that. So, like, for example, like relationships, like your usually autopilot response for a man after a breakup is to fix feelings. Yeah. Instantly fix feelings, and ego gets involved, and pride and all this stuff, right? And so our automated response is just like, oh, guys, the best way to get over a chick is to get under another one, or whatever the fuck that saying is. And I don't even know if I said that right. Do we get under them?
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess you can, but whatever. That's besides the point. But that's our natural male bravado, like all that type of shit.
It never works. It's never worked for me.
Well, it's temporary, and I'll let you. This is actually nice having this cutting you guys off again. It's the lessons that need to be understood, the necessary information for us to not allow ourselves to be repetitive in the experiences that we have, right? The lessons will keep showing up to teach. What is that saying? I think I heard you say it the other day about you'll continue to be present.
Yeah. Life will present lessons until you learn them.
Yeah.
So you'll continue to repeat lessons.
I like that.
Like, you know, people relapsing. It's like they relapse over and over and over. And ultimately relapses are telling you you're doing something wrong.
Of course.
And it's, you know, so it's telling you need to take a different path. But we want to deny that because it's easier to just continue on the path that's comfortable for us. Yeah. But life's telling you take a different path. That's the beautiful thing about recovery, but also the tough thing about recovery is literally a completely different path inward in knowing yourself. And when you talk about a spiritual awakening, one of the definitions of spiritual awakening is just a change of perspective, a change of perspective in your life. So in my opinion, it's about, it's literally about a change of perspective and just viewing your life in a different lens, so that when you embrace recovery and you start sharing honestly and openly what's going on, you start to incorporate life happening for you and not to you. Do you know what I mean? Like all things that happen, even bad things, even when you talk about a breakup or like, and I'd even be careful in saying this is exactly how you have to deal with something, because I don't even believe in that. It's like, because there's a million different circumstances of someone getting out of a relationship and getting into another one and getting married and being happy. So who is it to say? It's so easy for us to live in this black and white thinking of like, this is exactly what's right and what's wrong. And it's like, you need to like take life as it's coming and interpreting it and trying to do the right thing. And so if you got out of a relationship and you meet somebody and it feels right to you, who am I to say that that's right or wrong? So for me, I deeply believe in kind of listening more to your spirit and yourself and not living in such, like one of the things that I learned when I worked a 4-step was, can 2 consenting adults have sex? Is that okay? There are a lot of people in this world that were raised in religion that tells you that's wrong. And so they have this belief system that it's wrong, so they do it, and then they feel bad about themselves, even though, is that really your belief system? Do you believe that? Is that something that you want to live by, or do you believe 2 consenting adults can have sex and it's okay? So for me, it was a process of incorporating my own belief systems, challenging belief systems, because just because someone said something doesn't make it right. And so even when you say like, oh, when you get out of a relationship, you got to just sit by yourself, says fucking who? Yeah. Honestly, I don't believe in living like that. I believe in living openly and honestly and seeing what God has in store for you, because you never know. And when you're limited in like, this is the way that it has to be, sometimes you're blind to, like, you're denying the truth of what's coming.
I agree to that, but I disagree also. I think that within a structure can also be freedom, because the counterpoint that I was like, even with like what Chris was saying, sitting with self, that doesn't mean to deny yourself of opportunity or whatever the universe presents yourself. Sitting with self is deny yourself from being led by the head and not the spirit, right? The head's going to tell you, take no prisoners, sleep with girls at all costs, and don't think about who you're hurting and how you're hurting people. Become selfish in mode. Selfish. Adrian Michon. Selfish in motives. Like for me, my experience, and anytime I did that, where I just told myself, I would find myself sleeping with girls or doing things, acting out of my moral compass, just to not be by myself, and leaving and feeling worse after I did it, because of my intent and my motives behind my actions were not not good. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about deny yourself of, because if you were like, I'm not gonna force anything, I'm just gonna live my life, and you go to Dunks and someone's like, look at, hey, handsome.
But see, I would argue that that's part of the process of you learning that about yourself, because without that experience, could you have just listened to no, just sit with yourself and be fine? Most people can't do that, and they need to dabble in some darkness and create some pain to understand, all right, that's not the solution, and I need to take a different path. And so for me, getting concrete about exactly what you should do sometimes can limit you and keep you stuck in denying. Like, so I'm not saying that that's the right thing, but sometimes doing the wrong thing is the right thing.
No, for sure. But there has to be some sense of structure, right? That's like, why don't you cheat on your wife?
Because I love her.
And there's a sense of structure within that, a moral compass that you live true to, because you could go do the wrong thing, but morally that's not what you want to do. It would be suggested it's not a belief system, it's a moral system that we live by. And I'm saying follow your moral compass, right? Don't act outside your moral character because you're hurting. Don't decide you are going to hurt people, regardless if that could be a part of your process, but why not try to prevent that?
So the way you described relapse, right? Someone that keeps relapsing, you're like, a lot of people don't change it up because it's comfortable to them, right?
Yep.
So I needed to change it up because in the past, that's what I would have done. Yeah, I have needs. I have, like, you know what I mean? Opportunities come up. But if I just fixed if I just ran through or did whatever with different chicks, like I know it's not going to fix me at the end of the day. What's something I have a hard time doing is being emotional and crying, right? And to be honest with you, this is probably the best decision and best breakup I fucking have gone through because I have no ill will towards her, no bad intentions, and it's like I'm not hurting someone else in the long run. You know, because I've done that in the past. I've been that guy, and it's like it doesn't. At the end of the day, it makes me feel shitty about it. It does.
So what I'm trying. So I understand what you're saying, and I'm not trying to negate what you're saying. What I'm saying is I believe in living openly and honestly in what's going on with you. And so because to me, it's like you're either living in the light or you're living in the darkness. So you can do dark things but still be living in the light. That's my experience. So I just believe my process has been, I always try to live in the light, so I always just try to be open and honest about what's going on with me. Does that mean that I haven't made bad decisions and fixed feelings with feelings in certain circumstances? No, I have done that by being open and honest about it. I've learned things about myself as a result of that, and then I've changed them I've changed belief systems about myself, because I would say that the reason that I don't cheat on my wife is because I honor. It is a moral compass to a certain extent, but it's also a belief system of a way of life for me. I believe in a right way of living, and so I believe in like loving myself, and stepping outside my marriage would not be an act of loving myself.
I get it.
Of course, and I agree with what you're saying. So in terms of this is how I agree. If you're, like you said, I try to live in the light, but if I find myself in the darkness, I'm open and honest about that. Yeah. That's different. Yeah. To me, that's essentially like we do everything without. I can't put expectations on myself beyond what. It is what it is. I do the best that I can on any given day to do the best that I can. The most important factor is that I'm responsible to my transparency with my shortcomings, right? And if Chris told me that this was his intent, but then he left tonight and went on a fucking vicious tear, just being a demon in the streets, just hurting everybody, men, women, everybody was just in the rampage, dude. There was no one's safe. No one was safe. I would tell him that's okay. It's a part of your process, man. This is just where you're at right now.
It's about loving people where they're at.
Of course.
And I get what you said about being in the dark, because you can learn something and you have to go through pain in order to learn.
But you have to be open and honest. There's a difference, because you can live in denial. It's like, to me, step 2, if you look at step 2, it's like we came to believe, and it talks about a heartfelt decision. And the heartfelt decision is trying to live by a conscience. So that doesn't mean that you always do the right thing, but that means that you're open to sharing what's going on with you. And I see people sometimes in the recovery process, they work step 1 and they go to meetings and they get a sponsor, but they don't tell their sponsor what's going on with them. Yep. They're living doing whatever the fuck they want. You know what I mean? Yeah. And as a result, they have behaviors and they have pieces about themselves that they're denying. And by denying it, as a result, it gains strength. Because again, by embracing what's wrong with you, you get to what's right with you. By embracing the darkness, you get to the light. But when you deny the darkness grows. So in my opinion, we teach it a lot, though, in right and wrong. So the problem with teaching right and wrong is people deny their darkness because it's wrong. And so then they feel ashamed and they don't want to share openly and honestly like what's going on with them, because they feel like they're sinners and they're this and they're that, when it's like, no, we're all suffering. We're all human. We're all making mistakes. And I feel like as mankind, we've been mistaught in this rigid black and white, right and wrong system. And I'm not saying there isn't right and wrong. I do believe in living by our moral compass, but at the same note, I believe in learning from your mistakes.
Absolutely. And I agree. We're all human beings who suffer from human frailty, and we're bound to make mistakes, and many of them throughout our lifetime. And the most important thing that we can do is be honest with where we're at. We're never obligated to be anything other than what we actually are. And sometimes what we actually are in a current moment is not the fucking greatest, and isn't in alignment with our moral compass, and isn't in alignment with who we want to be. Just because I'm not who I want to be today doesn't mean that that's not who I will become or who I'll be tomorrow. That just means today's a shitty day. Yeah. And I'm not, and circumstances beyond my control, life usually, whatever the fuck it is, and how I process and deal with it. But how I get through that and how it doesn't become who I am and how I don't live true to a narrative, because when I'm in a state of suppression of truth, suppression of darkness, I start to believe that this is just, I classify myself as uniquely fucked up. This is how I'm going to always be. And then there's a suppression of all this stuff. And like you said, what we resist persists. And then it grows and it festers and then becomes this whole thing. And then we're hidden. We're hidden in plain sight to most people. We're living separate lives. No one knows the truth about us. We're dying inside, suffering. And that's basically one of the major reasons why people get lost as well, right? Yeah. Suppression of the darkness, because they're too concerned about perception, how they'll be perceived to the people around them, to tell the truth. And the worst thing, and this is the saddest thing that even for me, right? Because I've lived in that state, in the darkness, in a state of suppression, all the while dressed up because I can present well and do the dance.
Yeah.
And how fucking painful it is, right, to be in that state, all the while presenting well and constantly being validated for that state by people saying, look at you, you're doing great.
And you're dying
I'm proud
on the
of you.
inside.
And look at your house.
Yeah.
It's the biggest trap door in recovery,
Oh my
to be
God.
honest. It's the biggest trap door in recovery. Fix the outside, make everything look on the outside. You know what I mean? And it's a trap that families fall into, supporting their family members.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, look at them. They're doing great.
Whatever
They got a
you're
job.
doing, keep it up.
Keep doing it. And like,
Jeez.
but if they're not doing
God.
but if they're not sharing on, if they're not doing anything to take care of their spirit and openly share who they are, they're fucking walking towards relapse. You and I know it. We see it all the time.
Yeah.
Where it's like everything looks good on the outside and then they relapse. And to me, it's like, well, what the fuck were they doing?
Yeah.
Because just because things look good doesn't mean they're going good, unless we're going inward, going deeper. But it's like, it's a spiritual journey. It's a journey into knowing yourself. It's a journey into like being like truthful and honest and changing your belief systems. And that's why this is like it's a long-term play, dude. Recovery is not something that you get. Recovery is a lifelong journey of knowing yourself. It literally has nothing, like it has to do with the drugs and alcohol, but once you put them down, they're fucking gone. It's about you.
Yeah.
It's about knowing yourself and the belief systems about yourself that are incorrect. Because the truth is that we're all fucking amazing people who have just incorporated beliefs that are bullshit. I was listening to a motivational thing the other day about like an elephant. When an elephant is a baby and they have them in the circus, right? They nail a stake into the ground and the elephant fights the stake and it can't get the stake out of the ground. Once it gives up getting out the stake, they will nail that fucking stake into the ground when it's a massive fucking elephant that's all powerful and could easily pull the stake out of the ground, but it never will because its mind has decided it's suppressed that it can't break free from the stake. So like it's a good representation of what's wrong with us. We have decided early on that we can't do certain things, or that we're not capable, or we're not good enough, or we're not this, or we're not that. And most people have experienced these feelings like going to elementary school, like for me, dude, I fucking hated school. It gave me so much anxiety. And I had friends, and even with friends, it didn't fucking matter. You know, and I grew up like, you know, bad with in foster care and all this other stuff. But the truth is, those belief systems have carried through most of my life. And the recovery process has been about tearing those down. Yeah. Getting rid of them.
Of course.
Because they're all bullshit. And you know, the truth is that we are unlimited in our capabilities once we decide that. Once we start to believe in that. But again, like you said, it's about consistently feeding ourselves knowledge and feeding our spirit and consistent action of changing the way that we think. Because as we continue to participate in patterns of just fix this, fix that, get this, get that, they just feed the lie of something outside of ourselves is going to do it.
There have been times in my recovery where, like, okay, I brought this up before, right? That I thought if I had X amount of time clean, that my life was going to be better. It was going to be easier, right? And I felt it was literally killing me on the inside until I shared about it at a meeting. And like with doing so, it made everything a lot easier. And like, you know, guys could relate to me and everything like that. But I think that's one thing that, you know, the fear of like rejection or the fear of like judgment. And that's why it's important, because a lot of people that I know of relapse have been over little decisions that have built up inside and they don't let it out. And then they end up picking up. because the relapse happens before you pick up the drugs and the alcohol. It's about, your behaviors, spirituality. There's a lot that plays into it. The pickup of the drug and the drink is literally the last step. And that's what scares me. And that's why I expose it. Whatever fucked up thought or whatever fucked up thing I'm going through, I need to talk about it, and I need to have feedback. Just letting it out, especially in my men's group that I'm in.
No, of course. And it's twofold, right? Being lost. There's actually like being lost in life, not knowing what we want, all this stuff, and there's being lost in our minds, right? I mean, that I call that being in the rabbit hole. That's when, and that all stems from me. It's the three things that are most important. And it's when I evaluate myself, and these are the three things that are the weakest in my life, I'm about to become lost again, right? Whether it's in my mind or I start to come up with this crazy shit. But it's the connection component. When I start to disconnect, because my secondary with that is the honesty. Because if I don't have connection, there's no opportunity for me to tell the truth, right? Because my honesty comes through my connection. I need you to tell the truth to. I need people to free myself of my truth, right? To allow my darkness to be seen, so I'm not allowing it to grow and become me. And then the communication component, because without the dialogue, that means I'm sorting through the fucking madness in my head. And that means that I'm coming up with the alternate plan of action of what I require, right? What I require. And I'll tell myself the dumb shit. Listen, this is what we got to do. This is what we got to get. We got to get rid of this, buy that. This is no good. We need more money. We need this. If we get rid, I start to become Dr. fucking evil. You know what I mean? Thinking of these crazy plans of that's me dealing with me. And so when I'm not in a state of connection and I stop fucking telling the truth, there's no transparency, and I'm not having any dialogue, that means the dialogue that I am having is with myself, right?
That's not good.
And that's terrible. That's when I'm in a state of mind. If I'm the only person that knows the truth about me, I'm not in a good state. I'm definitely not in a good state. And if I'm in a state of suppression, man, that means I'm putting all this stuff that blocks the sunlight in my spirit. That means when my spirit is blocked because of the suppression, that means I'm being led by my head and not my spirit, right? And so I have no navigator, right? There is no navigation for me because my spirit is always like a great navigator in life, right? It just kind of leads us. It's like what you said, where instead of, how'd you explain that with life? Living life by, you said it in the beginning. It was good. We'll fucking play a clip or whatever the fuck Justin said right here for a second. But being led by that. But when I'm in a state, when I'm lost, that means, I mean, even going back to what we initially said, right? That whole like fucking, because that's the worst point, and I'm sure it was the same for you. And I can even think of moments. I know parts of your story when you were lost, and you know parts of mine. But like that trap that goes from like being worried about perception, and then it goes even beyond that, right? Because people are telling us, whatever you're doing, keep it up. I'm so proud of you. Look at your house, look at your car, look at your family, look at your house, look at, oh, you were on TV, all this stuff. So now it's beyond that. I don't want to expose my truth now because I don't want to let people down. Yeah. I don't want to hurt them by breaking whatever their view of me is, right? However they perceive me is in this positive, loving light. And I don't want to show them these parts of myself because I don't want to see the hurt. Or for me, I don't want my mother to be worried again, or I don't want my brothers to be worried, like if they know what the fuck I'm really doing, you know? So that's a trap too. It's like
it's interesting because as you were speaking, I was thinking that I do believe in sharing honestly and openly who you are. At the same note, my process has taken me is, I believe early in recovery, we got to get beyond our mind, and like our mind is just running so much with negative belief systems. But as you stay around here for years, your thinking does start to change.
Of course.
Let's not act like we don't get better.
Yep.
We start to get better. There is going to come a time in your recovery where you need to stand on your own 2 feet without some other people. And this is just my experience. Like, you need other people to nurture the light, but at some point there is going to be a time where you need to shine your own light. And you need to, like, because the truth is you are the light in the darkness, but when you get into recovery, you don't know it. So other people shine their light and you kind of follow them, but then you come to learn, I have the same light they do. So then you learn to shine your own light, and then 100% there becomes times in this journey and in your life where you need to rely on your own spiritual power that you have within you, that you need to make the decision, I'm getting through this. You need to make the decision, I'm trying to do the right thing, that like, I'm going to rely on God. I'm going to have faith. I believe there's trials and tribulations in everybody's life where like you're left with a decision. Am I going to do it or am I not? And the work that we do is to nurture our light, to be able to rely on our own light. And that doesn't mean that I don't still need other people, because I do. It helps me to shine my light. But at the same note, I've come to rely, because when you were talking about relying on everybody else and then now we have a perception of everybody else, one of the lessons that I had to learn was, am I living for everybody else's approval, or does my approval matter more?
Wow.
I had to make some decisions in my life that, like, you know what? I don't give a shit what everybody else thinks. And what you were talking about was, I left a wife after 10 years. I was in this unhappy marriage. I met a girl a week later, and dude, the energy between us was undeniable. I knew she was like the one for me.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in my life were like, you're fucking crazy. What are you doing? A lot of people judged me in the recovery realm of like, oh, was he fucking cheating on his wife and this and that, which I wasn't. I met Christina a week after Francesca. If you don't like that, I don't give a shit. Yes, to be honest, I don't give a shit. But that's the answer I had to answer for myself. With 19, 20 years clean, I cared so much about what everybody else thought, and it mattered more than about what I thought. And for the first time in my life, I was like, you know what? Go screw all yourselves, because it was a challenge from God for me to truly shine my light and follow my path. And most people in my life weren't supportive. Most people in my life were like, what the fuck are you doing? Oh my God, you're fucking blowing up your whole fucking life and blah, blah, blah. And it's the best decision I ever made 3 years later, is what I can tell you. And so there will come a time where God will challenge you, and you need to be guided by yourself and your own truth and your own answers. And what everybody else thinks doesn't fucking matter. But it's work.
Time.
It's work to get there, though. I'm not trying to pretend like you got that at 6 months clean. You know what I mean? I do believe in being guided. I do believe in like taking direction. I still work with spiritual teachers, and I still take a lot of guidance in my life on a regular basis. But at the same note, the deeper I go into knowing myself, the deeper my spirit challenges me to just listen to myself. That's where I'm at this point in my process.
Well, and here's because you always had the answers, and you'd always come to the same answer. And just for people listening that don't know what the fuck Justin's talking about, Christina's his new wife, Francesca's his ex-wife. Justin was in a marriage for a long time based off of perception. I'm not saying that you never loved Francesca. I'm just saying it expired, and in the midst of it, you wouldn't acknowledge that its time had.
Because I was living by a black and white view that Justin gets married, he makes a commitment for the rest of his life, he has to stay in this, doesn't matter. I lived in a perception of like, it's going to get better, I'm just going to live in hope, It's interesting because I'm such a big believer in the law of attraction and writing down goals. One of the goals I wrote down was, I want to be in a happy, healthy relationship with my wife. Look, I didn't know when I wrote that down it was going to require a divorce and a remarry.
Yeah.
And that's what it required. I can check off that goal off my list today. And literally, I believe writing it down helped me gain the strength.
You didn't just write it down. You would say it as a mantra every single day.
I would.
Every single day.
I would say it as a mantra every day in an unhappy marriage.
Yep.
Which probably helped me
I believe
to listen to the truth that it was over. And it was such a difficult decision.
Of course.
Dude, it was 20 years of my life that I worked towards creating the perception of Justin with 20 years clean, owns a house in Melrose, has 2 children, has fucking dogs from Japan, has fucking a Mercedes, has this, has that. Look, Mr. Perfect Life. But I wasn't living my truth. I wasn't truly happy. I was in a marriage that, to be honest, I loved her, but I wasn't in love with her.
Yeah.
Do you think fear kept you like with her a little bit longer because you were afraid of like what people are going to say or rejection?
For an extra 8 years? Yes.
Well,
and I'm not putting her down, but like, we weren't happy together. Everybody knows that. Anybody that ever saw us together, it was fucking uncomfortable for people. They were like, holy shit. please divorce. You know what I mean? Everybody in my life was like, dude, we'd go to a wedding.
You guys either need to fist fight or get a divorce. You guys either need to
people would
have
come
a
over
sword fight to the death or fucking.
Dude, people would come over my house and she'd just trash me the whole time, and I'd just sit there.
Oh, I would have loved her.
Dude,
I would have loved her.
It was, you know, how like it was just. It was
a couple months ago. I had a buddy that was like struggling. He's like, he's married, he's got kids, and he's like, you know, I'm like, if you're not happy, like leave. And like this is coming from someone who's like, you know what I mean? I'm not in the same situation. I don't have kids. And he's like, well, what about the kids? Like I have kids with her. I'm like, to be a good father doesn't mean you have to stay with the mother. And he was so wrapped up about, you know what I mean? He was so wrapped up about what other people were going to think. I'm like, dude, let it go. And like you said, that it does take time to develop that. Like
of course.
At 2 years, I care about like, obviously, like I want to make everyone happy around me, but I'm just starting to let shit go and be like, fuck it. And
Let's take a time out real quick because there is a lot of preparation, a lot of internal preparation to get us to a point where we're able to make these, to be able to listen to the spirit when it says it's time to go and to go. And when it says this is done, or to leave the job, or to take the risk, there's reasons why there's motivational speakers that make tons of money, and why there are podcasts that people listen to for 2 hours, even though people only average listen to this podcast for like
68
minutes,
seconds,
12 minutes or some.
If we got 12 minutes,
thanks, Mom.
Nobody's even on the podcast right now at this point. They pretty much watched me stutter out the gate, and then we're just like, fuck this.
You and Justin are on fire tonight with the stutter. A couple words.
Yeah.
You guys' recovery was good. So.
Oh, by the way, congratulations to Chris on his 2 years clean.
Thank you.
You guys may think that this is like an authentic moment of me just being nice, but he actually texted me and he said, you should probably congratulate me for being 2 years clean. So
because
this isn't organic at all. This is pretty much me reading from a teleprompter. What does that say? Good job. You did a good job.
I finished the text because I was like,
do better.
I was like, you forgot on my 2 year. Everyone forgot. It was like the next day. And like I had to say something to Michelle. And then like Craig called me. He's like, dude, I forgot it was your 2 years. Like I'm just like my birthday. I was telling everyone, I'm like, it's coming up. It's coming up. And everyone forgot. I was butthurt, but I got over it. The world doesn't revolve around me. But
that's cute.
It's growth.
Yeah. Congrats. No, 2 years is a big deal.
Yeah, no, it's
a
amazing.
day clean is a big deal.
Yeah.
We love you, Chris.
Absolutely.
Enough about that.
Yeah. Hey, in an honest note, 2 years clean, your life is fucking beautiful and amazing, and you haven't even scratched the surface of what's to come. That's my favorite part about this journey, man. Yeah. Your life continuously will blow your mind, and you will continuously surprise yourself at what you are capable of and the type of life that you are able to live. That this whole process, man. But going back to what we were saying prior to congratulating whatever the preparation that like anybody listens to this, especially anybody in early recovery, right? So we'll bounce in and out of perspectives, myself and Justin. There's a lot of, he's got a good amount of time in the 20-year mark. I'm at he's got 23 years.
22
and a half, round up, 23.
I'm
15 and a half, round up, pretty much 16 years. But we get to this, like, I can break down the disease. I can break down addiction. I can break down human nature. Justin can break this shit down. He's still a student. What we know today, we'll add more information tomorrow by the shit that we read. And I fucking gather so much information that I have this app called Headway. They're not our sponsor. They should sponsor this podcast, maybe, but it's like an app that lets you, like, it breaks down these books into like 10 chapters, and you can read it or listen to it, and I highlight the shit out of it, and I love it. I'm like a maniac. I'm fucking reading like 6 or 7 bullet points a day from amazing books, and I'm constantly in a state of mind where I need to feed the machine this positive. You're the same way, right? Yeah. And when we stop feeding the machine, we start to. I call it, I fucking malfunction. I don't malfunction out to the point where I'm like just this, like a disaster, but I can feel the difference in myself internally. I can start to become a little more pessimistic, less optimistic, a little more over analytical in things and stuff like that. Maybe a little more anxious.
I get short. I get like,
of course,
people get uncomfortable around me.
Absolutely.
I just went on vacation and my meditation routine got screwed up, and I was a dickhead.
You fell off.
I literally was, my patience and tolerance with like my wife and my children. I was just like, oh my God, like so it's just so important, you know, the spiritual practices of taking care of yourself. To me, reading is a spiritual practice.
Absolutely.
Or listening is a spiritual practice. It's like, and you know, singing. I was listening to a podcast that was talking about singing and dancing are actually spiritual practices that are incorporated in religion, that with religion, you know, having a huge decline, that a lot of spiritual practices have been lost over the last like 200 to 300 years, due to not pilgrimage is considered a spiritual practice. No, but it's cool. Think about pilgrimage. It's just like on journeys of like knowing who you are and your heritage and other stuff. There's a lot of things out there to deepen your spirit and who you are. And it's not just if something's getting old. The one thing I would say about this podcast is I just want to challenge the norm. I just go to a meeting, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm for going to meetings.
Absolutely.
But expand your horizons, dude. There are so many amazing, spiritually deep people. And Bill W. even wrote in the big book, he encourages people to deepen their spiritual path. Even if they leave the program, he encourages people to take the spiritual path that works for them. So it's like, for us, I'm just trying to encourage people, go deeper, know yourself more. If you've gotten to a place where you've arrived in recovery, you're actually lost.
Just so you guys know, that's an NA guy quoting an A.
Yeah, that is.
Exactly. Yeah,
guy.
I'm an NA guy quoting AA, which I might be, you know, crucified to the
Nah.
to
What
whatever.
was what you just said? You said listening is a spiritual what?
A practice.
Okay, so I must be like a spiritual being on this podcast because that's all I do is listen.
Dude, this
That's
right
it.
here, though, discussion,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, is a spiritual practice for me, going deeper. This is us going deeper. So hopefully we can, you know, incorporate some energy into this podcast that it's spiritual in nature. You know
Of
what I mean?
course.
It's not just intellectual. It's like, it's a feeling. It's a vibration that you can feel that, no, that's truth. You know what I mean? Dude, I listen to a lot of people who, like, when I listen to them, it's universal truth. I can't deny it. When I listen to the information, I'm like, okay, that's universal truth. And in ways, I feel like sometimes we can get too dogmatic in recovery of just being black and white. And as a result of that, the truth of what is, the spiritual nature, that the power of this program gets lost when we get too rigid, when we get too black and white. It loses its spiritual power. And so I'm encouraging people, go deeper, gain some more spiritual well-being by enhancing your knowledge. And by doing that, you're going to come to be able to listen to yourself, to know your truth, to seek the truth
Absolutely.
of what is. And, you know, when you were talking about your friend, it's like, dude, for me, my kids are way better off now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, teaching kids that an unhappy marriage is the thing, whether you realize it or not. If you're sitting in an unhappy marriage, you're teaching your children that that's what they, you know what I mean? That they should get into a relationship and they'll probably, like, they learn everything that happens. So you think you're doing a service to them and you're actually doing a disservice to them. In my experience, my kids are doing amazing, you know, from us. You know, we've taught them essentially to listen to your truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That there's not one way, because there isn't. At the end of the day, it was the right decision for us to end the marriage.
I'm sure she thinks the same way too.
Oh, she
Francesca, you know?
100% thinks
Yeah.
that way. She
Oh,
can't stand me.
She
I mean,
fucking
it's like,
hates you.
yeah, she hates my guts. You know, so which God bless her. You know, we
Oh.
weren't. It was expired.
Absolutely.
You know? So and I'm happy that she's happy. I hope she's happy. I mean, I don't know. Things have been going well between us, to be honest. And
That's
we're
good.
co-parenting our children
That's
well,
awesome.
and we're teaching our children hopefully to live their truth.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. And there's a lot of people that are like, oh man, it's like, fuck you. I don't give a shit what your fucking opinions are about my life.
Yeah.
You know?
Or even if I do, because at the end of the day, we're off.
It's human.
It's human, but it comes to a point where at least you cross over the point where you give a shit less
Yeah.
about what they think and more about what you think. Being true to you, right? Regardless of, okay, is it going to bother me that you're going to talk shit? Probably. Is that going to prevent me from doing what I know is right? No. That's like that's the beginning of the crossover, right? Because I'm only saying that out loud because if people are waiting for that point in time where they just don't care about how they're being received, they might never give themselves permission. Sometimes we got to just do what we think is right in spite of it. And just like you said, embrace what's to come, but know that you're being true to you. But there's and circling back around, right? Because maybe someone doesn't know what the fuck we're talking about, and why we get so energetic with these conversations, and why it seems like we're talking about fucking one universe, and then there's the 12-step fellowships over here. Like, I'm a firm believer in 12-step fellowships, right? And like going to me, that's what saved my life, because it created a foundation from what I could build upon. The rest of all this stuff is the elements that I built upon it. But it is the foundation. There's a lot of other elements that I added onto that foundation and I'm continuing to build this up. But why we're so energetic is because of the profound change that can occur when you start to become a student to all things that have to do with your spirit, your mind, all these things, the subconscious mind. There's just more elements that you can add to your foundation that make you a better member of a 12-step fellowship, that make you a better sponsor. It's like an introduction, the way that I can break down, the way that you can break down, because we're able to look at it as a whole, right? When you talk about the disease of addiction, and then I say, actually, that's the disease of extremely fucked up thinking, and how we process through that, right? The power in thoughts, that fear and the dictation of these negative emotions that we feel, anxiety, depression, all that shit, the narratives that we live by. That's the power of our mind, right? Bringing into reality just the pretty much thought, the subconscious mind, bringing in the information that we're feeding it, right? The negative people that are around us. We develop the realities that we live. We are literally the architect to the shitty lives that we live. How we can break that down and why we can break it down differently, how I know how to speak about the function of us attaching truth to thought, right? And allowing that to become our emotion that we feel, whether it's real or not. It's just now dictating emotion, right? And then that emotion is now dictating my interactions, maybe my moves that I'm making throughout life, maybe all that. That's not NA. That's Eckhart Tolle. You know what I mean? Like, when I talk about affirmations, and when I'm there's so many elements that I'm able to bring into the 12-step realm to help me decipher the disease even more. You know, like to the changing of the negative self-talk, the inner observer, right? Like the dialogue from which we speak to ourselves, like to understand, like, okay, you have a disease that talks to you in your own voice. And we don't want to, if we're only being led and guided by that, like, we can change the way that we speak to ourselves is through the action that we take.
Yeah.
Positive action with or without our own permission, right? Not waiting for us to be Captain Recovery gung-ho. And if you're not motivated by one thing, you're limiting yourself because there's an abundance. We talk about an abundant state of mind. Jack Canfield, law of attraction, being in an abundant state of mind. When I'm in an abundant state of mind, that means if I'm not getting what I need out of a meeting, I'm putting on TD Jakes, who's going to tell me, like, with new levels come new devils, right? And that I need to like work on my spirit, and he's getting me in touch with God, with the universe, and he's like firing me up. And maybe if I'm not getting what I need from TD Jakes, I'm on to something else, Les Brown, or I'm reading a book that's, sometimes I'm fucking listening to music that's bringing me to I was doing it last night, laying in bed, listening to my wife thinks I'm fucking crazy. I'm like, why doesn't music move you the way that it moves me? Because she sees me like getting emotional. Like
today at the office, I was concerned. You were in it.
My brother's the same way though. We're weird. Music moves us spiritually in a way that and she's like, I don't know, you're just weird. I like music, but
I don't think it's weird. I think music and dance are spiritual components. That when they were talking about the podcast I was listening, were talking about they're incorporated into a lot of religions because they're considered spiritual practices that speak to your soul. So if you're open to it, most people get closed to it though, because it's like we have a hard time letting go. That's why sometimes I challenge the clients is get up and dance, get up and put your hands above your head, and everybody's uncomfortable. Like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. But it's like, why? Just let go. Why can't we just like let go? Why can't we just like be free? Why can't we just dance? Why can't we just sing? Why can't we just, and that's why we're so inspired by people who can dance and who can sing, because they're living from their soul's truth. It's beautiful. It's one of the ways that they're expressing themselves. Now, I can't dance or sing, but this is how I express.
You can dance.
I can dance. I can dance.
Can you really?
Yeah, he can dance.
Oh yeah, I can dance. Yeah, I can dance. So, but for me, creativity comes in different manners. It's like, for me, Ascend is one of the ways that I've creatively used my creative mind. It's
we'll plug it right here, but only if he pays us for advertisement.
Yeah, you know Ascend video.
And
August 1st.
Hey, blur this book out, The Recovery Conscious Mind.
I'm a published author now, Recovery Conscious Mind.
Congrats.
And just so you know, if you order it on Amazon, it's going to say Prime, but it'll be there in 7 days.
Huge backlogs. So many people have bought them.
Sold out right now.
93 or something. But anyways, it's like just nurture our souls. Just be who we are. Just let go. Let's just love each other. Let's just live in we are creating our reality. So it's like in recovery, it's challenging us to go deeper, be freer. And when we're living, and so back to the belief systems, when we're living in concrete belief systems, it restricts our freeness. Yep. It restricts us just allowing us to be and be. And so for me, I'm more in tune today with like trying to be in a state of being of who am I? Who am I is I'm a loving, caring, energetic being who is here to spread that. Yeah. And anything less than that, when I'm being less than that, it's because I'm feeding into some belief systems or negative rhetoric that I've bought into over my life, that I've been taught. And so I try to focus my spiritual practices on the morning in like, literally, I do mantras and stuff of I am open, and I literally just picture myself with my arms open, which makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. But it's like, but that's what I want to be. I want to be open. I want to be loving. I want to be caring, because the true essence of who I am is that. But my fear of everything that I've been taught about myself restricts me from that, restricts me. But the more that you can do that, the more you give everybody else around you permission to do it. Yeah. And you create a state of safety for people to get in touch with their spirits and get in touch with who they are and start to heal, man. Because it's like, dude, we are all amazing, energetic, beautiful people who just needed safety to like be ourselves.
Well, I want to practice now. We're in a safe zone, Chris. So why don't you just be free, and I'm going to, you just sing like a little bit.
Dude, I'm about it, dude.
Sing, right? Boom,
no.
boom, 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 boom,
no.
boom, boom, boom. Boom.
No, I'm not doing it.
Come boom, on, dude.
No.
Boom.
You be free.
Boom, boom,
be free,
boom,
Justin. Show
boom,
me.
Boom, boom, boom.
No, I'm not singing. I told you.
Boom, 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 boom.
You're a dancer.
Boom, boom, boom.
Dancer,
what song is that?
In the night is young. I don't know the words. Do. In the land is.
Chris is
See how awkward I just got? No, used to be.
What's your song? What do you want, dude?
Nothing. No,
Chris
I'm not
can
doing
sing.
That. No.
Check him out on Facebook. Follow him on Facebook.
Chris is a singer.
Hey, I won't put a video of Chris singing right here. We won't. There's no way. Chris strumming away on
Nico, I swear to God.
Get it on there. Get it on there.
Chris can sing. What do you want to sing?
I'm not singing anything, no. I gotta go pee.
Ed Sheeran?
No.
Are you trying to get away from a pee-pee break?
I need a pee-pee break.
Come on, let it go. He was in, dude. Oh my God! When this video's up, he's so sexual in the mic.
Oh my God!
For the ladies, he's like, "Oh, chicks are gonna love this."
Oh man, I'm so.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Break. Pee. All right, and we're back from the pee break. Chris, weak bladder. We know the deal. I think he just panicked because we were trying to get him to resurrect his singing career.
I wish those videos would never. I never posted.
What was like your go-to song though? You know, like
I was really big into like Dispatch.
Yeah.
You know, Dispatch.
No idea.
Just so good. And
who else?
This guy Matt Nathanson. You've no idea.
No idea.
Really
no idea
good.
What that is.
So
shout
good.
out to Dispatch Matt Nathanson. Is that
Dispatch and Matt Nathanson? Yeah.
okay? Cool.
I don't know who these people are.
I have no idea either.
So good. So good.
Who else? Like anybody?
Craig David? Come on.
Craig David, yeah.
Who the fuck's that?
Oh
what?
God, dude, get the fuck out of here.
Craig David was the man, dude.
No idea.
Yeah,
no idea.
Well, check him out.
Yeah. Shout out Craig David, dude. I don't know where that guy's at.
I don't either, but his albums were incredible when they came out.
Who else was like a singing inspiration for you?
Jason Mraz before he got mainstream. Even when he got mainstream, he's
Jason
really good.
I love him.
He's really good. He's been on a lot of some Broadway stuff too. Oh, that's his. What is that? His third album, second album.
Say you don't know me, but you bet I felt it.
I'm not singing. Yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. No, I retired. That used to be my dream.
Hey, in the comments, if you want Chris to come out of retirement, just leave a comment. Come out of retirement, everybody. We want him back. What, did you have
I'll perform live.
Yeah, if you guys, I mean, the people, they need to speak. You know, if we want it. I mean, it was pretty live on Facebook.
Yeah.
People were feeling it. You know what I mean?
Dude, I've never been so embarrassed. Well, I have, but that was rough.
Bro, I was
incredible,
in a
dude.
boy band. I was in an ill boy band, dude. My biggest concert that I did was at Linwoods Elementary School for about 14 elementary students, dude. And I sang O Town.
O-Town? I remember when they're on the that TV show making the band.
When she's been on your mind.
You should come out of retirement. We should do an album together.
We should, dude.
Dude, act like
Chris
I would.
Squid.
Yeah, the two.
When I
that.
wake up, doom, doom. Yeah, I know I'm gonna be. We'll do like we'll cover that. You know what I mean?
I don't know what that is.
What? And I would walk 500
Oh my God.
miles in
Yeah.
My wife is gonna cringe.
So you
at
did
this
that. I
part,
did
dude.
Battle of the Bands.
She's gonna cringe at me singing. Nico be singing too, dude.
He does?
Oh yeah.
Dude, we should do it. Dude, yeah. Battle of the Bands I was in a couple of years. I did like a culture festival. I played at Greeley Park.
Did you really?
Yeah. That was literally my dream. And then drugs and alcohol, and I sold all my shit.
It's never
Gave it
too
up.
late, bro.
Yeah.
It's
dude,
not.
you're
I got a
fucking young.
guitar again, and I still
dude.
play by myself.
Slap at the bass. You still
Yeah.
slap at the bass
Slap at the bass.
every once in a while.
Yeah.
I wanna. We gotta get a fucking live performance, dude.
Yeah, I agree.
See?
Can we get a little sample?
No, no, not tonight.
I'm not properly warmed up.
It's my vocal cords. The
We should
temperature's not
try to
right.
bring some musicians on here.
we
It's not
we
bad.
could, yeah, absolutely. My buddy James Massoni,
James.
he was on The Voice.
Oh, is that's the dude you showed me? You guys amazing.
Dude, we should get him on here.
He hit me up on Twitter, James, and
We should
he
get
said he'd come
MB's
on.
He's like,
MB's
"Stop
coming
hitting me
back."
up."
MB's amazing, dude. One of the best. She's super talented.
Yeah.
Justin Clancy, if he ever comes home, he's super talented.
Who'd you show me?
I showed you James and Jason Massoni, the Massoni brothers.
I
They're
think
from
we're going
Wakefield,
in a new
Mass.
direction. I think we should get some.
We were just
Big
talking about
artists
how
on here.
music.
Feeds the soul, dude.
Yeah,
I'm
so-
about it.
Oh,
I'm about
absolutely.
it.
Yeah, no, but even James, man, he's got a story. James is the man, though. Fucking one of the most soulful little funky white boys ever. Him and his brother, and even their sister can sing. The whole family's fucking talented.
Craig David, you're invited, brother.
Oh, yo, Craig David, I
Yo,
know
I
you. If
love
you
you.
listening,
This is it, dude. You're invited.
yeah, dude. My inspirations were I was all Incubus.
Oh,
I
yeah.
wanted to be Brandon from Incubus.
That
He was
picture
like-
of you with the shell necklace with your shirt on.
We can put it up, dude. Nico will put it up because the shit's serious.
It's fire.
dude. Back when I could grow the hair, let it flow,
Yeah.
I was just like fucking.
You looked good.
Yeah.
It was the style.
That's,
Yeah, Incubus always. They're good. That's a good band.
yeah.
Lyrically, musically. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. But so we're coming to the end of this podcast, man. Hopefully next week we have the full crew back. Maybe we'll have a singer on. Maybe we'll have Chris sing. We never know. Maybe
Never
we'll
know.
bring.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to tune in.
Yeah, no, that's it. Every week, keep checking back because one of these days,
Dude.
Chris is gonna fucking serenade us, the
Yep.
ladies.
Bust out the
Dude,
six
I
string.
remember I learned how to play power chords, so I could play. Well, for those, if you ever any guy out there, especially in early recovery, and you want to just pick up a guitar and learn how to play to impress the ladies, if you're trying to find seeking out validation because you can't validate yourself yet, and you're still trying to fix feelings, a good instrument that I used to fix feelings was the guitar.
Yep.
Very easy to learn a power chord. It's one fret, slide your fingers down, the pinky, 2 frets down, pinch 2 chords, hold one like this. See that? Almost looks like a Spider-Man web. That pretty much will play any 90s alternative song that you want. It's all the same chord. All of Nirvana, all of Bush, all of Green Day. It's just in different sequences. So I learned how to play Glycerine by
Ooh.
Bush.
Nice. Dude, Bush was good, dude.
Boom, 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 boom. And then I do boom. I do a little raspy voice while I was playing. Boom. It must be your skin. And I start singing. I start fucking getting grunge. You know what I mean?
Hey,
At
when-
that time, I was still smoking cigarettes and shit.
See, I would hang
They're
out your
you,
mouth.
You play the guitar. I'm like, a little bit I dabble. You know?
The best is when those videos were posted and I was so embarrassed. You like helped me. You're like, dude, I was in a boy band and you made it better.
Yeah, dude.
For someone who shits on me so much in public, you would never think that you're a kind, gentle soul. But
Ah, dude, they called me Sissy Chrissy. They still call me Sissy. I don't
yeah,
give
no,
a fuck,
they still
dude.
call you that.
Yeah, I don't care, dude. I can't even fight it. You keep getting asked if I'm gay from
dude,
people that watch the
if I had
podcast.
$1 for every time, I'd
Yeah,
have like
no,
$6
it's fine.
right now.
I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
When I would go dance, all my gay boys, my Funk Snap, that's what they called themselves, the Funk Phenomenon. And there was like the all gay group called Funk Snap. Shout out Funk Snap. And if they didn't hit me with a strong yes, Chris, when I walked in with my outfit, I didn't feel good about myself. No one can hype you up better than a gay friend.
Absolutely.
Bro, they're my favorite fucking, like, for self-esteem, because especially for men, right? Dude, you'll never walk in a room and I'll tell you that you're handsome because I have a little bit of the snap in me, I guess, about validating men. Like, we're never like, oh, get it, look at you with those jeans and I told you your hair looked phenomenal the other day.
Yeah.
I'm about that.
I appreciate that. No, I'm about that too.
But it's not a natural thing for men, right?
Yeah.
Because it's we're just gonna be called, oh, you fucking pussy, or whatever it is, right? But you get past that at certain points and stuff like that. Dude, my buddy Goose, shout out Goose, I fucking love him to death. Like, no one can boost your self-esteem more than a gay friend. And if they're quiet, then it hurts my feelings. If I come in and I'm feeling my outfit and they're not like, they're like, yes, daddy, okay, with the jeans and they start
walking taller, chest
shit,
out
I
a little
start
bit.
puffing up my fucking dude.
Yep.
If I had it my way, I'd have a gay friend around me throughout my whole day, just hyping me up, everything that I was doing. You better work hard. You better just
Flavor Flav.
feeling, because it gets me. It gives it's such good energy.
Yeah.
Shout out Lerome, shout out Damien, shout out Goose, shout out all of my Funk Snap peoples. But we were talking about Chris's singing. We were talking about being lost in the podcast right there. That's another being lost where we're at right now. We talk about Chris. We started talking about me being gay, then me having gay friends. What Chris was wearing Jenkos today. Shout out Jenko jeans.
Shout out.
Anytime you're wearing tight pants and they flare out at the bottom, we classify that as a Jenko. But he's getting better. His haircut looks good.
Yep.
Shout out to you.
Shout out Craig. Oh, by the way, so if you go to Rise Barbershop in Nashua and you mention somebody's podcast, the first 20 people that do it, Craig and Dave are going to give free haircuts too. So they're keeping a tally of it.
Shit.
So the day this airs until as soon as 20 people mention it. So
bam. And if you share this video on Facebook and then like it and then hit a comment that you liked it and you shared it in the YouTube channel, then we're gonna give you a free T-shirt from Rich Print Shop.
Thank you, Rich Print Shop.
Thanks, Rich.
Yes, yeah, and hopefully I get one too because I don't have somebody's T-shirt.
Neither do I.
But so we're coming to the end of this podcast. So let's, we'll do the end of the episode breakdown where we're at with things. We started the podcast off with different points in our recovery and in life where we're lost. My explanation in the beginning was that when your spirit's calling out for change and internal motivation, and when we don't have the information or the knowledge and we haven't done the work on ourselves, we don't know how to take the information that our spirit is feeding us, right? Like it's this relationship is done, or it's time for a new job, or it's time to move forward, it's time to level up, it's time to progress, whatever it is. We feel the uncomfortability of the emotions that come with that, and we decide at some points that we're gonna try to fix them instead of address them and learn from them, which creates us being lost being in many different versions. We talk about being lost in plain sight, right? Where we're living in a state of suppression from people actually knowing where we're truly at because we're afraid of perception, how people are going to view us. And then we're in the trap of validation because people are actually seeing the external stuff that we told ourselves was going to fix us. It didn't. We're still living internally with the lies. We're not addressing the underlying root. And people are telling us that they're proud of us and keep up the good work.
Yeah. And we're miserable.
And we're fucking miserable. So that's another point of being lost. And then there's many points in time, man, where we find ourselves as the end of relationships, man, where we have a pathway that we could choose. And and ultimately you're going to choose whatever pathway you're going to choose. And either way, it's fine. The best pathway that we should choose, that like Chris was saying, is take the opportunity to learn. right? Instead of, even if you're deciding to go out and fix feelings, still take the opportunity to learn, so that we don't continue to have life present us the same lessons to learn over and over and over again, right? I came to that point where I had to learn about myself, especially in relationships, because I always used to say I date crazy women, and I realized I create crazy women. Wisdom. I create wisdom. That's exactly what I was saying. I create crazy women because of my instability at that point, my instability mentally and emotionally. Because I would present as one guy on one day and another guy by night and another guy by the next day and another guy. So, of course, that's going to break a woman mentally when she's like, what the fuck is going on, you know?
Which Chris do I get today?
Yeah, especially when you come out the gate and you're like fucking Aladdin, like, I can show you the world. And they're like, this guy's amazing. And then the next day you're just like fucking on a Harley, like, or another chick
Where's
on the back,
boo?
like, I don't know where the fuck you're talking. It's like, it's just, but that was where I was at that point in time. You know what I mean? It was only until I stopped and learned the lesson that it was my common denominator in every field relationship I ever had in my life was me. And that was what was to be addressed. Was I able to be in a relationship, not only be in a relationship, stay in a relationship, be monogamous in a relationship, and then marry that person. I never thought that would be possible for me, you know, and then understanding within that, from that lesson, taught me things about relationships, right? That the difference between lust and love, that the two separate things. You know, we fall in lust in the beginning of any relationship, but love comes with the requirement of work, right? Like, it's natural, but what that work is being resilient in your relationship, unconditional love, right? Acceptance of the worst part and the worst version of the person you're going to be with, and the reciprocated accepting of the worst version that you're going to bring to the table on any given day, right? And that when you're in a state of like progression within your relationship, the same way you're in a progression in your recovery, right? You have to learn how to compromise. All these things that I'm selfish by nature, you know, like, there's a lot of things that from a selfish mindset that I carried a long time that I brought in with me in relationships that were characteristics and traits that created failure within those relationships, you know? And it was actually just a tweaking of little things and some basic understanding fundamentals of relationships that, especially with my wife, you know, it's not fucking rocket science, you know? But I'll fuck it up. Little things. Yeah. Appreciation. Hey, I'm not going to be home tonight because I'm doing this thing and it's not last minute. Shout out Christina.
I love you, babe.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yes, he does apologize.
Shout out Christina and Sam.
Yeah. They deal with two Aquarius men.
Yes.
It's tough.
Yeah.
We are tough, but it is what it is. So wrapping up, you guys have, congratulations to Justin. He brought he has a son, Jack. You haven't been on the podcast since Jack's come into the world?
Really? I think I have, actually.
Have you?
But yeah, that's all right.
Hasn't it been 2 weeks?
You seem a little lost. I don't know,
Jack's
Chris.
5 weeks old, but that's all good.
Jack's 13, dude. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, bro.
Jack's 5 weeks old, but yeah, I've had a son.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's carrying the trait of your hair.
He is.
Hairline.
Christina doesn't like that she's mad at me about this. But he's got a grandpa fucking head, and I'm ready to get him a hair transplant. Fucking whatever. So I'm like tracking the fucking grandpa head like closely. I'm like watching the hairs. Yo.
Justin goes home and picks up hair off the floor, and he's just like, another hair. What the fuck?
He's a beautiful little boy, but
he is. It literally is your mini version of you.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
No,
He's great.
handsome.
Yeah.
Beautiful children. You have beautiful children.
I do. I'm very blessed.
You are blessed. So end of the episode. Any last thoughts, man? Any things you want to tie in to this fucking last minute rant to rope in with anything? Any things that we didn't touch on that we want to contribute or?
No. Nope. I don't think so. If you're lost, fucking ask for help.
Yeah, that's it. That's huge right there. Asking for help.
Yeah. If you're lost, you just need to, there's plenty of people to help you guide you to the light.
That's the hardest
You know?
thing to do.
That was deep.
So hopefully you're not lost, but if you are, for whatever reason, ask for help. Put a comment on here. I'll fucking respond to you.
Oh yeah, this
I would
shout out
100%
to
help anybody who asks asks for help. I think anybody on this. I don't think we've ever offered that, but to be honest, we're open book here that want to help the recovery community. That's why we do this, really.
Absolutely. I had an individual reach out to us on Instagram saying that this podcast, he's been watching the podcast for a while and he really appreciates it and he gets a lot out of it. And he said he was coming back off a relapse and he's trying to find his way back onto a spiritual path and that he appreciates that. And I essentially said the same thing, man. Like, we're here, reach out for support if you need us to help boost your spirit, help contribute and guide you to get back on the spiritual path. Shout out to that individual. I won't say your name, because I don't know if you want me to.
Good for him for reaching out.
Yeah, keep grinding, man. Keep grinding, man. Fucking, you can come back from a relapse. Not only can you come back stronger than ever, man. The only mistakes if we don't learn from them. We take the opportunity and the lessons. Within the lessons come the blessings, man. It's necessary information that is required in order for us to arrive at the places that we want to go to. It gets us to a place of deeper understanding. And pain's always been my biggest motivator. And there's nothing more painful than coming off a relapse.
And you're the same person at the end of the day. You are literally the same person. Your clean date changed, but who you are fundamentally as a spirit, as a light being, you are the exact same person. So don't let shame and guilt fucking hold you down.
And you don't lose that knowledge either. You don't lose the knowledge that you gained. And
exactly.
That's one thing is a lot of people beat themselves up just because they have to change a date. But if you look at it on the scale of the rest of your life, it's just a slip up, but it's about, the comeback. That's the story I want to hear too, is the comeback kid.
The comeback, absolutely, man. It's fucking so worth it. That's the thing. Like, especially if we're trying to portray anything, we may go off the rails sometimes, and me and Justin may talk about some shit that you're like, what the fuck are they saying? Sometimes it happens all the time with individuals. Like, they start to, because you got to understand, there's a lot of information that we've gathered. There's a lot of pain that we've gone through. We've had so many opportunities to learn. And because we've stayed clean throughout our process, including the ups and downs, peaks and valleys, we had the opportunity to be present during these times to learn the lessons that needed to be learned. Even when they kept repeating themselves, when we weren't willing to learn them, we were actually coherent enough to be present so that when the time came for us to actually want to have a deeper understanding or to go deeper, we had the knowledge and information that was already within us. We had the opportunity to actually go get it. And so my basic point that I'm trying to make is that you keep coming and you become a student to this shit like us. Like, everything, the world, how you see it will change. It's so much deeper than just, obviously, drugs and alcohol, not being addicted to that's great, and you'll have the desire to be lifted, but even more important than that, you'll begin the process of a life worth living. You'll be in a journey of path and purpose. You'll be in a place of self-discovery, internal change, a new motivation, a new dialogue from which you speak to yourself, new relationships, new opportunities for so many things that you couldn't even possibly conceive in this current moment. And I couldn't conceive. I couldn't possibly logically understand any of it. If you would present it to me as a whole 15 years ago, I would have looked at you like you were a fucking psychopath. Yeah. Because it defies logic. What we do here, it's miraculous and spiritual in nature. And if you give yourself the opportunity to experience this, man, it's beyond your wildest dreams. I promise you that. So, Chris, you want to sing?
Oh, I'll pass next week.
All right, that's it. Episode 15 is a wrap. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.
Share.